As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. Let me tell you something real right now. Life, this journey we're all walking, is full of voices. Voices telling you what love is, who you should be with, who looks good, who sounds right, who checks the boxes. But there comes a point in your life where you stop chasing chemistry and start looking for calling. You start asking the question, not just do I want them, but did God send them? Because if God didn't send it, why are you entertaining it? I've learned that the most dangerous thing you can do is connect yourself to someone God never called you to. It might feel right, it might look good, but if it's not divinely orchestrated, it will crumble. It'll drain you, distract you, and derail you from the purpose that was meant just for you. So how do you know? How do you truly know if God wants you with someone? First, listen to the peace, not just the passion. Passion is loud. Passion makes your heart race, makes your palms sweat, makes you feel alive. But peace is quiet, steady. It's the silence after the storm. When God places someone in your life, there's a peace that doesn't require you to overthink, overwork, or overcompensate. You don't have to beg, chase, or prove your worth. You don't have to wonder if they're for you because their presence confirms it. They don't cause confusion, they bring clarity. God doesn't author chaos. So if your soul is restless, if your spirit is uneasy, then that might not be from Him. You ever been in a relationship where you constantly feel like you're guessing? You're trying to read minds, interpret silence, decode mixed signals? That's not God. When God is in it, it won't be a guessing game. It'll be confirmation after confirmation. God speaks through peace. And the presence of peace is the absence of fear. So if fear is running the show, you got to ask yourself, did I invite this or did God? Another way you know, growth. Not just theirs, yours. When someone is sent by God, you won't remain the same. You'll start to evolve. You'll start stretching, becoming more of who you were created to be. You'll start seeing yourself clearer, loving yourself deeper, trusting God more. That's because divine connection doesn't just feel good, it produces fruit. Not just butterflies in your stomach, but strength in your soul. See, when God puts two people together, it's not just for companionship, it's for calling. It's not just to hold hands, it's to hold purpose. The right person will challenge you, inspire you, correct you when you need it, and pray for you when you're weak. They won't pull you away from God, they'll push you closer to Him. You'll pray more, believe more, expect more, because something about them awakens the destiny in you. And you'll know it's right, not because it's easy, but because it makes you better. And don't get it twisted, growth ain't always comfortable. Sometimes growth looks like confrontation. Sometimes the one God sends isn't the one who flatters you, but the one who tells you the truth. And the truth might sting, but it sets you free. If someone can love you and still hold you accountable, you better recognize what you've got. God doesn't send comfort zones, He sends catalysts. Third thing, alignment. You can be attracted to someone and still not be aligned. Alignment is about direction. Where are they going? Where are you going? Do your visions align? Can you build together? Are your values rooted in the same foundation? Are you pulling toward purpose or pulling each other apart? Attraction without alignment leads to frustration. And let me tell you, if God is in it, there will be alignment in timing, in values, in direction. God is not going to send you someone who's walking south while you're headed north. No matter how fine they are, no matter how sweet they talk, if they're not aligned with your spiritual walk, Spray and release. You can't carry dead weight and expect to fly. Alignment means you're both submitted to something greater than yourselves. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it holy. That's what makes it last. And sometimes God won't allow something to work, not because he's cruel, but because he's protective. He sees the end from the beginning. And when it's not aligned, he'll shut the door to spare you the breakdown later. Trust the no. Trust the delay. Trust the closed door. If it's not aligned, it's not assigned. Next, confirmation. God speaks, sometimes through his word, sometimes through people, sometimes through circumstances, but he will always confirm what he ordains. You'll hear the same message in different places. A sermon that hits different, a conversation that opens your eyes, a door that opens you weren't even knocking on, or maybe a door that closes with clarity. God is not a God of confusion. He won't play games with your heart. When it's from him, he will show you, but you got to be listening. Too many people ask God for a sign and then ignore the answer. You want him to speak, but you're only listening to your feelings. Don't just ask for confirmation, look for it. Pay attention, ask him, Lord, if this is from you, show me, and he will. But remember, his confirmation might not always be what you want to hear. Sometimes he says no, and no is still love. No is still protection. No is still grace. And lastly, purpose. Every connection from God is tied to purpose, not just pleasure, not just companionship, purpose. When God puts someone in your life, they won't distract you from your assignment. They'll fuel it. They'll remind you who you are when you forget. They'll pray over your dreams. They'll celebrate your wins and sit with you in your losses. They're not intimidated by your light. They reflect it. Purposeful relationships look like two people running toward God and realizing they're running side by side. It's not about being perfect, but being positioned to love with grace, to serve with joy, to build with vision. You'll know it's God when your union does more than make you happy. It makes you holy. It makes you sharper. It expands what God is doing in both your lives. That doesn't mean it won't be tested. It will. Because anything from God will always be attacked. The enemy hates alignment. He hates purpose. But when it's from God, the storm won't break you. It'll build you. When it's from God, trials will purify, not destroy. When it's from God, your love won't quit in the face of difficulty. It'll grow stronger in the fire. So don't just ask, do I love them? Ask, can I build with them? Do they push me toward my purpose? Do they challenge me to grow in Christ? Do they pray with me? Can they handle the weight of my calling? Do they carry peace or problems? Don't get distracted by the temporary and miss the eternal. Look, love is beautiful, but love with God is a feeling. Love with God is a force. And when God authors your love story, it will look different. It might take longer. It might stretch your faith. It might not match your preferences, but it will be worth it. Because what God builds, man can't break. What God puts together, no one can tear apart. So take your time. Be prayerful. Be patient. Be discerning. Don't move off emotions. Move off revelation. Wait on peace. Wait on purpose. Wait on God. Because the one he has for you, they're not just coming to complete you. They're coming to complement the calling already on your life. They won't just fit in, they'll elevate. They won't just look right, they'll be right. And when they come, you'll know, not because it feels like a movie, but because it feels like home. Because your spirit will recognize theirs. Because the God in you will bear witness with the God in them. Because where there was once striving, now there's peace. Where there was once doubt, now there's clarity. Where there was once waiting, now there's walking in purpose and faith together. So don't settle. Don't compromise. Don't water yourself down to be chosen. You are already chosen by God. And when the right one comes, sent, not searched for, you won't have to chase. You won't have to shrink. You won't have to guess. You'll just know. As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. Sometimes the greatest blessing God gives you is time alone. Don't rush through your season of singleness trying to escape what God is trying to teach you. Because if you don't learn how to be whole alone, you'll be half in a relationship, and two halves don't make a whole. They make a mess. God doesn't want you to find someone to fix you. He wants you to be healed, to be whole, so that when he sends someone, it's not out of your desperation, it's out of your preparation. There's something sacred about solitude, that quiet place where you hear God clearer, where you confront your broken places, where you stop pretending and start becoming. That's where he shapes you. That's where he removes what doesn't belong and reveals what's been hidden. See, the wait isn't punishment. It's positioning. You're not being forgotten, you're being formed. And when you finally start walking in your worth, you'll stop entertaining what doesn't deserve access to you. You'll stop accepting apologies instead of change. You'll stop mistaking potential for purpose. Because when you know what you carry, you become selective with who gets close. You stop letting chemistry trick you into believing it's calling. You stop mistaking attraction for assignment. And you start moving with intention. But you got to ask yourself, am I ready for what I'm praying for? Everybody wants love, but not everybody wants the responsibility that comes with it. Love isn't just butterflies and date nights. Love is sacrifice. Love is service. Love is choosing someone even when it's hard, even when they're not at their best, even when life isn't perfect. Can you love like that? Can you forgive like that? Can you cover someone in prayer instead of criticism? Can you speak life when all you feel is frustration? Because the kind of love God ordains, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes maturity, it takes surrender, it takes two people willing to die to their ego so something greater can live. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you'll walk away from something divine because it didn't come easy. But God's not sending you someone to entertain you. He's sending someone to walk through life with you, through the valleys and mountaintops, through the beauty and the breaking. And that kind of connection, it's forged in the fire, it's tested in the tension, it's proven over time. We live in a world that gives up too easy. One argument, one misunderstanding, one inconvenience, and people are ready to walk away. But real love doesn't run. It roots itself. It fights fair. It listens. It grows. God's kind of love is not flaky. It's faithful. It's not inconsistent. It's intentional. And if you want that kind of love, you got to be that kind of person. Don't pray for a God-sent partner while living with a convenience store mindset. Be who you're asking for. A lot of people want destiny connections, but their habits are still tied to dysfunction. You can't take kingdom love and plant it in toxic soil. You got to uproot what's been killing your growth. Heal that bitterness. Confront that insecurity. Break that cycle of codependency. Because if you don't, you'll sabotage what God sends. You'll reject what you're not ready to receive. And not because it wasn't right, but because you weren't ready. Let me tell you this. God will never send you someone who makes you question your worth. He won't send you someone who manipulates you, belittles you, or drains you. That's not love. That's control. That's fear. And fear has no place in divine love. The one God sends may not be perfect, but they'll be intentional. They'll make room for your heart. They'll honor your boundaries. They'll see your scars and still choose to stay. They won't run when it gets real. They'll roll up their sleeves and say, let's grow through this. And you've got to be strong enough to wait for that, because there will be counterfeits. There will be distractions. There will be people who look the part but can't play the role. And if you're not grounded in God, you'll fall for charm over character. You'll settle for attention instead of discernment. You'll be so hungry to be chosen, you'll forget you are already called. God doesn't do random. He's intentional with who he brings into your life. So when he allows separation, trust that too. Sometimes God has to subtract so he can multiply. Sometimes the wrong relationship has to end so you can make room for the right one. And it hurts. I know it hurts. But don't curse the breakup if it brought you back to your knees. Don't mourn the loss if it helped you rediscover your voice. Sometimes rejection is God's redirection. Sometimes heartbreak is heaven's healing. We ask God to protect us, but sometimes protection looks like pain, and even in that pain, he's still good. He's still working, he's still faithful. Even when you don't understand, he's still orchestrating something better. So don't try to reopen what God has closed. Don't go back to what he rescued you from. Let him write the next chapter. Let him surprise you with something you didn't have to chase, didn't have to force, didn't have to beg for. See, when it's from God, it won't feel like striving. It'll feel like grace. It won't drain you. It'll edify you. You'll feel safe. You'll feel seen. You'll feel supported. And not just in the good moments, but in the mundane, the messy, the ordinary, because God's love doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes in consistency, in patience, in kindness, in the quiet moments when someone chooses you over and over. Even when it's inconvenient, don't overlook the small things, the check-ins, the prayers, the laughter, the way they listen, the way they care. That's God's hand too. Don't be so focused on the spectacular that you miss the supernatural. Love doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes God shows up in whispers, in small gestures, in steady presence, in someone who stays and while you're waiting, worship, serve, become. Don't put your purpose on pause waiting for someone to come complete you. You're already whole. You're already enough. The right person isn't coming to rescue you. They're coming to walk beside you. So be faithful in your now. Water your own soil. Get rooted in your identity, because when two whole people come together, it's not just love, it's legacy. This is bigger than a relationship. This is about destiny, about divine alignment, about building something that reflects the glory of God. That kind of connection doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come through scrolling or swiping. It comes through surrender, through prayer, through obedience. And when it comes, it'll require you to show up fully. No masks, no pretending, no playing small. You've got to be ready to love with open hands and an open heart. You've got to be willing to unlearn what the world taught you about love. You've got to choose faith over fear, healing over hiding, commitment over convenience, because the one God sends won't be perfect, but they will be prepared. Prepared to walk with you, prepared to fight for you, prepared to pray with you, prepared to do the work. And when you meet them, something inside of you will just rest. Not because the journey will be easy, but because the foundation will be solid. You'll know deep in your spirit. You'll feel it in the way they look at you with purpose. You'll sense it in the way peace wraps around your heart. You'll recognize God's fingerprints all over it, and it won't just feel right, it'll be right. Not because you created it, but because you waited for it. You trusted for it. You prayed for it. You healed for it. That's how you know when God wants you with someone. As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, She didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. You've got to ask yourself what kind of legacy you want to build with someone. Because a relationship that's from God is never just about the two of you. It's about impact. It's about purpose. It's about legacy. And legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's what you build together while you're still here. Two people who know who they are, whose hearts are anchored in God, whose minds are set on things above. That's legacy in motion. That's kingdom. And when God breathes on something like that, it doesn't just bless your house, it blesses generations after you. But you can't build that kind of relationship with someone who isn't ready to carry what you carry. This isn't about being arrogant. This is about stewardship. You've got a calling on your life, and you can't be casual about who you connect with. You can't hand over your heart to someone who isn't equipped to handle your soul. You can't invest your spirit in someone who's not invested in God. It's not enough for them to like you. Do they cover you? Do they respect your walk? Do they see your anointing and honor it? Because real love honors, real love protects, real love serves. If they're not willing to walk with you through the wilderness, they don't deserve to sit with you in the promise. You need someone who will intercede for you when you're too weak to pray. Someone who won't just admire your light, but help you carry it when it gets heavy. That's how you know it's divine, when your connection leads you back to the cross. When the relationship doesn't feed your flesh, but strengthens your faith. When your love story becomes a testimony, not just to each other, but to everyone watching. Because people are watching, whether you know it or not. Someone is watching your walk, your choices, your relationship. And they're learning what love looks like by the way you live. That's why it's got to be God. Because when it's God, it'll speak without saying a word. It'll preach without holding a mic. It'll shift atmospheres just by existing. And sometimes you'll know it's not from God, not because it's evil, but because it's too small. See, some people aren't bad. They're just not built for where you're going. They can't carry the vision. They can't handle the assignment. They don't see the future because they're stuck in the past. And you're trying to drag them into destiny when God's telling you to let go. You're holding on to comfort when God is trying to launch you into calling. It's hard, I get it. The heart gets attached. Emotions get involved. Memories are formed. But don't confuse history with destiny. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean they're part of your next chapter. Some people were only meant to teach you, not travel with you. And if you keep trying to resurrect what God buried, you'll miss the blessing he's trying to bring. You can't bring kingdom promises into relationships that were built on compromise. If you had to lie to keep it, if you had to lower your standards to keep it, if you had to step outside of God's will to feel love, that's fear dressed up as comfort. And you were not created to live in fear. You were created to thrive in truth, in freedom, in purpose. So many people settle for good enough because they're afraid to be alone. But loneliness isn't the enemy. Settling is. And when you settle, you delay what God really has for you. You block the blessing. You clog the flow. And you end up exhausted, wondering why your spirit feels heavy. It's because you're carrying something God never told you to pick up. You've got to trust that what God has for you won't pass you by. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to manipulate it. You don't have to beg for it. What's ordained can't be stolen. What's covered can't be cursed. When God joins something together, his favor marks it. His grace sustains it. His spirit protects it. So stop fighting to keep doors open that God is trying to close. Let him make room for what's real. And listen, sometimes the person you thought was the one was really just the lesson. That's okay. That doesn't mean you failed. That means you grew. That means God loved you enough to correct your course. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. You're not late. You're being aligned. Every tear, every heartbreak, every delay, it's not wasted. It's working. Even in the silence, even in the in-between, God is still working That's why you've got to trust him, even when it hurts, even when it doesn't make sense. You've got to believe that his plan is better, because it is. You think you've seen love? Wait until you see what God's love looks like when it shows up in human form. Wait until he sends someone who prays with you before decisions, who reminds you of your worth on your worst days, who holds your hand not just in celebration, but in struggle. That's love. That's covenant. That's what happens when heaven writes your story. And maybe you're listening right now and you're tired of waiting, tired of being disappointed, tired of giving your heart to people who don't know how to hold it. Let me encourage you, God sees you. Every time you chose obedience over attention, he saw you. You're not overlooked. You're not forgotten. You're being preserved for something holy, something rare, something worth the wait. It doesn't matter what your past looks like. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made. God specializes in redemption. He takes broken stories and turns them into beauty. He takes lost years and restores them with interest. You haven't missed your moment. You're not too far gone. As long as you've got breath in your body, there's still purpose in your path. And if you trust him, he will lead you to a love that reflects his heart. But you've got to do your part. You've got to prepare. You've got to heal. You've got to let God transform you from the inside out, because you can't ask for something new while holding on to old patterns. You can't enter a divine relationship while clinging to toxic habits. This is the season to get ready, to let go of the past, to shut the door on anything that no longer serves your growth. And when you do, you'll start to see the shift. Your standards will rise. Your peace will return. Your vision will clear. And one day, without forcing, without striving, without trying to manufacture it, God will align your path with someone who fits the future he's prepared for you. They'll walk into your life, not as a savior, not as a fantasy, but as a partner, a warrior, a friend, someone who doesn't just admire your light, but protects it, someone who doesn't just say they love you, but shows it in how they serve you. Someone who understands that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice to stay, to forgive, to build, to grow. And it'll be clear, not because it's perfect, but because it's purposeful. Not because you never disagree, but because you never dishonor. Not because it's free of pain, but because it's full of grace. And when you look back, you'll see it so clearly that every heartbreak, every delay, every detour led you right here, right to the place where God's promise and your obedience met. You'll thank him, not just for the blessing, but for the breaking that made you ready. Not just for the connection, but for the preparation. You'll realize that God wasn't just preparing them for you, he was preparing you for them. And together you'll reflect the kind of love that shifts atmospheres, that heals hearts, that glorifies heaven. And in that moment, you'll understand this is what it feels like when God writes the story. As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. Some of you are so used to dysfunction that when peace comes, you question it. When stability enters, you look for the storm. When someone shows up with patience, with maturity, with real love, you get suspicious because chaos felt like home, and that's not your fault. That's what you learned. That's what you survived. But surviving is not the same as thriving. And God didn't call you to survive love. He called you to be healed by it, restored by it, strengthened by it. You've got to rewire your mind. You've got to allow God to show you what love really looks like. Because if your standard is based on what broke you, you'll keep choosing what feels familiar over what's healthy. You'll keep reaching for what mirrors your wounds instead of what matches your worth. And let me tell you, your worth is not up for negotiation. It's not determined by who stays or who goes. Your worth is set by your Creator. Unchanging, unshakable, unbreakable. You were never meant to beg to be chosen. Never meant to shrink yourself to fit inside someone's insecurity. Never meant to be tolerated where you should be treasured. When God formed you, He did it with intention, with excellence, with power. So don't you dare let someone's inability to see you make you forget who you are. You are royalty. You are called. You are covered. And the one God sends will recognize that. They'll honor that. They'll water your garden, not drain your soil. But you've got to be available for that kind of love, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Because if your heart is still tied to what left, if your spirit is still holding space for what failed, you won't have room for what's meant to stay. You've got to unclutter your soul. You've got to detox from false attachments. You've got to evict every lie that told you love had to hurt to be real. Because when God brings love, it brings clarity. You won't have to wonder where you stand. You won't have to beg for attention or affection. You will feel like a convenience. They'll treat you like a calling. Because when you're someone's prayer, they don't play with your presence. They don't mishandle your heart. They don't confuse consistency with convenience. But that starts with you, with how you see yourself, with how you allow yourself to be treated. You teach people how to love you by how you love you. And you can't love yourself if you're still carrying shame. If you're still defining yourself by your past, that's not who you are anymore. The moment you surrendered to God, you were made new. The old you, the one who tolerated abuse, who accepted breadcrumbs, who stayed silent when they should have spoken up, they're gone, dead, buried. What's standing here now is redeemed, whole, restored. So stop lowering your crown to fit in places you've outgrown. Stop watering dead things hoping they'll bloom. Stop waiting for someone to see your value when God's already confirmed it. The right one won't need convincing. They'll see it, they'll feel it, and they'll respond accordingly. They won't just want you. They'll value the assignment God placed on your life. And that's what you wait for. You wait for the one who makes you better, not bitter, who challenges your spirit, not your sanity, who calls out the warrior in you, not the worrier, who helps you walk in destiny, not drama. That's the kind of love God sends, the kind that's rooted in purpose, not performance, the kind that draws you closer to Him, not distracts you from Him. And when it comes, you'll know. You won't know because of how they make you feel. You'll know because of how they make you grow. Because divine love grows you. It stretches you. It pulls you deeper into your purpose. It won't let you stay small. It won't let you hide. It'll expose every place in you that needs healing and then help you heal. It won't just celebrate your strength. It'll cover your weakness. It won't just highlight your gifts. It'll stand with you in your process. And that right there, that's holy. But you've got to be willing to do the work. Relationships aren't just about compatibility. They're about commitment, about covenant. That's what this generation forgets. We want vibes, but we forget values. We want romance, but we don't want responsibility. Love is not a trend, it's a test. It's not a post, it's a process. And if you're not willing to endure the process, you're not ready for the promise. God is not interested in sending you someone to just make you feel good. He wants to send someone who will build with you, who will pray with you, who will go to war with you, who won't just say they love you, but show it when the pressure is on. And let me tell you something. Pressure reveals fire tests. Life has a way of exposing what's real. So don't just look at how someone shows up in the good times. Watch how they respond when life gets hard. That's where character lives. That's where truth is found. And when it's God, they'll stay through the storm, through the silence, through the mess. Not because it's easy, but because they're graced for you. assigned to you, connected to your destiny. They won't just love the idea of you, they'll love the reality of you, all of it. The beauty, the flaws, the history, the calling. And they won't try to change you to fit their preference. They'll encourage you to grow into God's promise. And maybe you've never had that before. Maybe all you've known is pain, betrayal, being an option, being replaced. Let me speak this over you. That cycle ends with you, that history does not define your future. The trauma stops here. The tears you cried in private, God saw every one. He bottled them up, he wrote them down, and he's about to turn those tears into testimony. But you've got to believe again. You've got to let him soften your heart. You've got to trust him to be your defender, your protector, your matchmaker, because the love God has for you, it's not based on trend. It's based on truth. It's not seasonal. It's sacred. And when it shows up, it won't need explanation. It'll bring peace. It'll bring confirmation. It'll align with your spirit. And you won't have to chase it. You won't have to perform for it. You'll simply receive it. You'll know it because it'll look like God. And that's what you deserve. Not perfection, but purpose. Not fantasy, but faith. Not temporary highs, but eternal truth. The kind of love that holds your hand and reminds you we're in this for real, for purpose, for God. So stay rooted, stay focused, stay obedient. Don't let the loneliness trick you into counterfeit love. Don't let your waiting season make you desperate. You're not waiting to be rescued. You're waiting to be matched, to be aligned, to be joined in purpose. And when it's time, not a second too soon or too late, God will say now, and it'll happen, and it'll be right, and everything in you will say, this is what I prayed for. As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. So if you're standing in a place of uncertainty right now, if you're wondering whether this person is from God or just another chapter in a long story of almosts, I want you to slow down, breathe, and go back to the source, because no answer is more powerful than the one you get when you're still before God. Let him speak, let him reveal, let him confirm, and remember this: the right person won't rush you out of alignment with God. They'll wait with you inside of it. They won't pull you into confusion. They'll walk with you in peace. They won't distract you from your purpose. They'll push you deeper into it. That's how you'll know. Because when it's God, it won't feel forced. It won't make you shrink. It won't require you to lose yourself just to be loved. It will feel like coming home. Not to them, but to the version of you that God always saw, the healed you, the whole you, the chosen you. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing. What God joins together, no man can tear apart. And when it's right, it won't just change your relationship, it'll change everything. Wait on that.